DNO and Life Sciences, brought to you by RT Specialty.
Hello, I'm Mike Garofalo and welcome to our series DNO for Life Science Companies. The series is sponsored by RT Specialties. The program today is DNO issues for life science companies. With me today is Kevin LaCroix of RT ProExec. Welcome, Kevin.
My pleasure to be here, Mike.
Kevin, what are some of the DNO considerations when underwriting a life science company?
Well, the DNO underwriter is well aware of the securities litigation vulnerabilities of life sciences companies, and so there are certain categories of issues that are going to be very important to the DNO underwriter. The first is, what stage in its life cycle is the company? Is it developmental stage, or does it have products in commercial distribution? The next is going to be the financial condition of the company. What is its debt position? What is its cash position? And then the third is going to be, how has the company been performing? Have there been any significant issues in the company with respect to regulation, with respect to its sales? What has been important recently in the life of that company?
What are some of the issues for underwriters and with developmental life science companies?
Well, for a developmental stage company that has companies in the clinical trial pipeline, the underwriter is going to want to know where in the clinical trial process that company is. First of all, how many products it has in the clinical trial process, and then where those are in the process. The later those products are in the clinical trial process, the closer it is to its endpoint, the more vulnerable the company is to a setback, and the more significantly it will affect the company's share price. So that's obviously a key consideration. The other thing the underwriter will want to know is the company's financial condition. Does it have the cash? Does it have the credit sufficient to carry the company all the way through the remaining parts of the clinical trial process? The underwriter just wants to know how vulnerable the company is to setbacks in the clinical trial process, and whether it has good prospects for being able to complete the process.
Let's stay on that topic. And for an underwriter looking at a developmental company, if you only have one product in the pipeline, one compound, is that a difficult underwriting scenario, or is it more difficult that you have multiple compounds, for instance?
It's really going to vary company to company. Certainly if they only have one product, and so that the entire fortune of the company rests on that one product, if there's a significant setback, that will significantly undermine the share price of the company. But if you have multiple products, then you have multiple opportunities for setbacks to emerge. So there's no best scenario. Underwriters know that developmental stage life sciences companies are susceptible to setbacks and vulnerable to securities litigation.
Switching gears, conversely, what do underwriters, DNO underwriters, look for with a company who has a commercialized product and that product is out into the marketplace? What are some of the underwriting considerations for that company?
Well, the underwriter obviously wants to know how the revenue stream has been performing, what types of competitive threats the company faces. The underwriter will want to know, have there been any regulatory issues for that company, particularly affecting those products in commercial distribution. Sometimes companies that have products in commercial distribution also have products in the developmental stages. So if the company also has products going through the clinical trial process, the underwriter will want to know about that as well. And then a very major concern has to do with questions that can arise relating to the safety and efficacy of the product. If there were to be any questions like that, it obviously would be a significant problem for the company and affect its commercial fortunes.
Sure. What are some of the product safety and efficacy issues with a company? What do underwriters look at that way? Do they look at the FDA for some of their regulatory for oversight and that sort of thing? Do they offer that into consideration?
Well, just as a starting point, any company that has a safety and efficacy issue, it's going to affect its revenue, it's going to affect its reputation. So if there are questions, whether it's coming from consumers, whether it's coming from the press, or whether it's coming from regulators, it could be a significant concern. A frequent source of safety and efficacy concerns has to do with issues affecting the manufacturing process, whether there are concerns about the purity and the efficiency of the manufacturing process, and whether the products that emerge are safe for the consumers. And when those questions arise, if they do arise, it can significantly affect the share price and often attract the attention of plaintiffs' lawyers.
What issues to a DNO underwriter are important from a financial perspective?
Well, financial underwriting is an important part of all DNO underwriting, not just for underwriting life sciences companies. But what the underwriter wants to see is what the company's debt position is, what its cash position is, whether it has sufficient financial resources, either from its cash or from available credit, to fund its operations for the foreseeable future. The underwriter will also want to know, has the company engaged in financing activities? Has it done share offerings or debt offerings? And how has that affected the company's finances, and how has it affected the share price? What the underwriter is looking for, is there any financial vulnerability there? Is there anything that will undermine the company's ability to continue to perform as an ongoing business? And if there are any concerns, that will significantly affect the terms and conditions and premium that the company will pay.
For publicly traded companies, what does the share price mean to a DNO underwriter in his underwriting process?
Well, there's a lot of signals that can be discerned from the share price. The volatility of the share price is one of the biggest concerns relating to securities class action litigation. So the underwriter is going to want to understand the movement of the share price. First, the underwriter will want to determine how the current share price compares to the share price at the time the company went public. The underwriter will want to see, have there been any significant spikes, upward or downward, and what caused those spikes. The underwriter will also want to understand if the market capitalization has significantly increased, because first of all, the bigger a company is, the likelier it is it will be a target, and also if the share price has risen very fast, it can drop very fast. And then finally, the underwriter will want to understand how the company's share price compares to similar companies in the same sector. How has its peers' share price been performing? All of those will be factors that will affect the underwriter's assessment of the relative riskiness of that company.
What additional issues for a DNO underwriter, what will he look at in addition to what we were just talking about in assessing a life science company?
Well, first of all, the DNO underwriter will look at insider trading patterns, whether there have been significant sales by company insiders, and if there have been, what the timing of those sales were and what the magnitude was. For example, did they sell all of their shares? And the timing would go to issues such as, were the insiders selling just before earnings releases, which creates the possibility of sales before disclosure of bad news, suggesting the insiders were aware the bad news was coming and wanted to unload their shares. The underwriter will also want to look at company management. Has it been stable, or has there been significant turnover? Have there been changes on the board? The underwriter will want to know, has the company engaged in significant mergers and acquisitions activity, because often there is litigation surrounding M&A activity. And finally, the underwriter will want to know the company's claims history. Has the company been the target of claims in the past? All of these things go to the question of what is the likelihood that this particular company will experience DNO litigation in the foreseeable future.
I'd like to thank our guests today. I'd like to thank RT Specialty for sponsoring our program today, and also for our viewers, for you watching our program today. Thank you very much.